The TPP must be banned.
TPP must be banned. Madison to Japan. TPP must be banned.
Great to see you here. Thank you all for coming. My name is David Newby, former president of Wisconsin AFL-CIO, currently president of the Wisconsin Fair Trade Coalition. My task is an impossible one. In about 5 or 6 minutes, I'm supposed to explain to you what the Trans-Pacific Partnership is and what Fast Track is. I'll do my best. But the Trans-Pacific Partnership is one of the best kept secrets from the American people. This is a set of negotiations that began back in 2010. It includes the following countries, and I got to read them, the list is too long. United States, Australia, Brunei Darussalam, Canada, Chile, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Peru, Singapore, and Vietnam. These negotiations the administration is hoping to finish off sometime this fall or probably early spring. If you thought NAFTA was bad, how many people thought NAFTA was bad? Yeah. All right. This is so much worse, I can't tell you, I can't explain. But this, once again, under the guise of a trade treaty, is actually implementing the agenda of transnational corporations. There are 29 chapters of this agreement that these countries are negotiating. Only 4 have to do with customs duties and essentially eliminating barrier to trade across borders. The rest is the transnational corporate agenda of deregulation and privatization. And what they hope to do, essentially, as the head of the WTO said in 1995, is to write the Constitution for the global economy. And that Constitution, I suspect, will start out saying, we, the corporations of the planet Earth, and then you fill in the blanks. Because this is being driven by the interests of multinational, transnational corporations. These negotiations are also going on basically in secret. There are 600 corporate advisors that have access to what is being put on the table to negotiate, but that's it, other than government officials. And even members of Congress can only have partial access to what the United States and other countries are proposing. And in fact, they have to apply to see these proposals. They are put into a room, a sealed room. They can't take pencil or paper. They can't take recording devices. They can't make notes of any kind. They can read part of what's on the table, but then these proposals are declared to be classified, and so they can't talk about them. Now, if you think that is a democratic way that the American people and even Congress has some kind of a measure of control over what's going on, then we have lost all sense of democracy. Now, why do the transnationals want this agreement? Number one, cheaper labor. China is becoming too expensive to produce in. Chinese workers their wages are increasing, and it's simply not feasible, the transnationals say, for them to continue totally in China. So Vietnam is the new China, where wages are about 1/3 of what they are in China. So this is an attempt to produce more at lower wages, move more jobs out of the United States and other industrialized countries to cheap wage countries. And that is going to have an effect on everybody, not just the workers in the United States or the workers in these other countries. It's going to be part of the global push to the bottom in terms of living standards and standard of living. The transnationals also are putting into this agreement what was in NAFTA, but this is going to be stronger, and that's the right for foreign corporations to sue the U.S. government or state governments, local governmental organizations, if they adopt laws or rules, regulations that reduce what these corporations expected to make in profits. So if we're trying to make improvements in worker standards, protection, health and safety, food safety and protection, environmental standards, these can all be challenged by foreign corporations in a secret tribunal that is part of the World Trade Bank, World Trade Organization. And 3 judges, in secret, without representation from our government, make a decision as to whether these regulations violate the provisions of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Their rulings cannot be challenged, and the result is hundreds of millions of dollars in fines to the governments who lose these cases, or else the requirement that governments rescind the laws or regulations that are limiting their profits. So it's a direct impingement on our own Constitution, on our rights to be able to determine our own destiny and to improve life in our country, as well as for workers and citizens of other countries to improve their situation. Say goodbye to any kind of buy American, buy Wisconsin, buy Minnesota, wherever you're from. Say goodbye to those kinds of laws, because they become illegal under the Trans-Pacific Partnership on the basis that foreign corporations have to have the same rights as American corporations for government procurement contracts. So our taxpayer money can be shipped off to a foreign corporation and we can't stop it. And in fact, this happened to some degree during the stimulus program, where our tax dollars actually went to foreign corporations rather than to American workers and American corporations. Let me stop with that as just some of the part of the horror story. You can go to a number of trade sites, a number of internet sites, citizenstrade.org. Margaret, yours is what? TPP.org, you got it there. Educate yourself about this. We have to have a massive movement against it, because, and this is my final point, they aren't simply going to bring this up before Congress to debate and decide whether to adopt or not. First, and the most important to us, they will try to get Congress to pass fast-track regulations, which essentially say that the Congress delegates its constitutional responsibility to regulate international trade and to transfer that to the President, to the executive branch, to decide who to debate with and what the conditions are, and then to actually sign the agreement. Once it's signed, it doesn't go into effect, it goes to Congress. However, Congress has only 60 days in which to consider that agreement. The implementing legislation for NAFTA was this thick. How many members of Congress do you think actually read the text of NAFTA? You're probably right. So, 60 days, and then it comes to the floor. Congress can debate it, but they cannot make any amendments. It's an up or down vote. So once again, the authority of our elected representatives is compromised by this agreement for fast track. The best way for us to stop the Trans-Pacific Partnership is to stop fast track. It was only reauthorized in 2002 by 2 votes. So we have a chance to win this fight. But that vote on fast track is probably going to be coming up this fall. We've got to organize quickly. We've got to spread the word to our neighbors, work through our organizations and coalition, talk to our elected representatives, because they're the ones that are going to have to vote ultimately, and stop fast track from being implemented. If we stop fast track, we've got a good chance of stopping the Trans-Pacific Partnership entirely. So, now we got a mic. Our first speaker, and by the way, as I've mentioned, I'm simply going to announce the people that will be speaking very briefly, about 5 minutes each, and then they will introduce themselves and make their remarks. Power to the people. It's us. Next on line, next on tap is Margaret Flowers. Margaret?
Thank you. Hello, my name is Margaret Flowers, and I'm with flushthetpp.org. Say that with me. Flushthetpp.org. That's important because the former U.S. Trade Representative Ron Kirk gave us our instructions. He said that if the American people knew what was in the TPP, they would never be able to get it signed. That's why they've been negotiating in secret for 3 years. trade? No! It's not, and that's why we have to flush the TPP. They want to push this through with fast track. We have to stop fast track. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to flushthetpp.org and take the pledge. I want you to participate in our TPP Tuesdays. Every Tuesday, let the people in your community know about the TPP, because if we spread the word, we can win. The TPP affects everything we care about: food, healthcare, internet privacy, finance regulations, workers' rights, the environment. The list goes on. But if you care about it, if it's just, it's going to be stopped or made more difficult by the TPP. This unites us, and together we can win, because you've heard that trade agreements have been stopped over the last 10 years. So together we will win the struggle. So please help us get the TPP OccuCards from OccuCards.com. Pass them out in their communities. In your community, take the pledge at flushthetpp.org and spread it to everyone you know. Let all of your advocacy groups know about it as well. And I want to congratulate Madison, because you are the first city to have an anti-TPP protest on your state capitol steps. So let's hear it for Madison.
How you doing, Madison? Said, how you doing, Madison? My name is Shamako Noble, and I'm the executive director of an organization called Hip Hop Congress. I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I just want to do a little piece that I wrote in 2008, right after the stock market crash. It's called Broke. Yo, cats is broke. You act like that's a joke, like these cats will not grab the gat and smoke for like half a Coke in that jacket lope, getting the sense you ain't out here. Cause the young G's are really about it and down to clown here. Down to move pounds all across the town here. And make moves without fear. We got these poorly rated makeshift lawmakers mucking up. Bakers sinking tankers, but the haters still coming up. People losing their homes with no one to blame except an imaginary market that gets harder to tame. God, it's a shame these credit companies harvest your pain. Pillage and plunder and just chalk it up as part of the game. Stalking your wage, call you and call you and call you again. Make deals, don't even know who you bargaining with. They try to act like it's not a threat to their order. But thousands in Detroit still don't have any water. Going after your son or your daughter to sign them up for their own slaughter. Another public housing unit torn up. Police don't even bother with conversations or whatnot. They just speak with a taser or object with a gunshot. They abhor us all. In their court of law, it is crystal clear. Convicted for surviving the traps they have engineered. Yo, folks are starving. The White House is starting to look like J.P. Morgan. Obama just barged in by a limited margin because of his charm and all of the harm the Bush farm did. But I'm going to keep it real, because even though he won, we still got an economic system that's been overrun. And we don't understand it. Man, we are all lost. These corporations, they only want to cut the costs. They hack away at jobs. Prices don't level off. Playing ball's more expensive. People have less to toss. We've always loved America because we've been better off. But give a won't goodbye to privilege, y'all, because we just shipped it off. They bail out all the banks and raise the stakes for corporate cronies. We have to choose between bankruptcy or our heart exploding. It thickens up in this piece. We see the plot unfolding, cooped up in a pseudo-free market just as it starts imploding. Yo, cats are pissed. Critical mass, what'll happen to us after this? It's a conspiracy, a theory we can master. If we get past our past, look at the math and just smash the... For many, there's a God. For some, cash is it. And they'll be glad when fascism crushes activists. Why are toddlers sleeping on bitches while pundits addicted to pills are sitting on TV just promoting agendas? Yo, we can affect it all with our collective thought. But there are sections lost and there are sections bought. And there are sections that may never want to understand. And there are sections that will gain the upper hand working the numbers, man. There are lines drawn. You're wrong, tried to ride the fence. Signify your mind and then focus, use your mind's offense. It won't take one of us. It won't take 25. It will take all of us for all of us to survive. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
My name's Kevin Gunlock. I'm the president of the South Central Federation of Labor here in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm here to read a statement from our representative of the 2nd Congressional District to Congress, Mark Pocan. I regret that I cannot stand with you today, but you know I am here with you in spirit. Thank you for coming out today to show your support for American workers. As NAFTA continues to gut the American manufacturing industry and export American jobs, negotiations on a new massive foreign trade agreement, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, continue in secret, with little to no oversight from Congress. Too often, our country's trade agreements have been a bad deal for American industries and for the American worker. As a small business owner, I've seen the number of Made in America products available to me dwindle sharply in the past decade because of the unintended consequences of these so-called free trade agreements. As you know, the administration is seeking to reinstitute a process called fast-track negotiating authority. This is to speed up the approval process by delegating wide swaths of Congress's power to oversee international trade to the executive branch. If implemented, Congress would vote to accept or reject a trade agreement, but would be unable to amend the text. Congress should not repeat the mistakes of the past by standing by and blindly agreeing to new trade agreements. The administration should make the draft TPP public and allow Congress to conduct our constitutionally mandated oversight so we can ensure economic growth here in America. Because I feel so strong about this issue, I asked my colleagues to join me in signing a letter calling for increasing transparency from the administration on TPP and urging Congress not to give up its constitutional authority to oversee foreign trade agreements. I am pleased to report that 35 of my freshman colleagues have joined me. Congress needs to work together to get American trade policy back on track, not to give away its authority to do so. Reducing our authority to ensure our trade agreements serve the public interest will undermine our efforts to create American jobs and to reform a misguided trade policy that has devastated our manufacturing base through the offshoring of American production and American jobs. Thank you for making your voices heard. Mark Pocan, our 2nd CD member to the U.S. Congress. Thank you.
Next up, Ruth Caplan.
We are so happy that there are a few members of Congress who get it as well. But we also know that most of them are bought lock, stock, and barrel by the corporations. Are we going to give up? No. We can take action right in our own towns and our own cities. First, I want to share some good news, and that is the multilateral agreement on investment was stopped by the first international movement against trade agreements. That was stopped back in 1997. And more recently, the free trade area of the Americas for all of the North and South Americas and Central America was stopped by organizing throughout our two continents. Now, one of the ways that the mobilization against the MAI happened is people did not sit back and just say, please, Congress, do something. They went to their local representatives and they said, we want an MAI free zone in our town. They said, we will not obey. And so, They said, we do not want a trade agreement that has been negotiated in secret, where we don't even know what's in it. We don't want one where our representatives in our own towns don't know what's in it, and we don't want this at all. And so they passed resolutions in their towns in Canada and in the United States that said that they declare that their town is a MAI-free zone. And that is what we should do today. We should declare our town, our city, a TPP free zone, and say that we will not obey. We will not consent to any trade agreements that are done in secret without our consent, which would diminish the ability of our local government to act in the best interests of our community and our businesses, and to protect the local ecosystem on which all life depends. And so I call today here in Madison, that has led in so many ways in this country, to be the first city in the country to pass a TPP free zone. We will send a powerful message to President Obama and to the Congress, and the message is, we will not obey. We will not obey. We will not obey. Thank you.
Greetings, friends, relatives, allies. I'm Debra Plume of the Oglala Band of the Lakota Nation, coming here from what America and the world calls South Dakota. I come here in a good way to make allies in our resistance to protect Mother Earth from the corporations and the government politicians, which I decided to call polluticians, because they just pollute everywhere they go, everywhere they see that is good and clean and healthy and beautiful. They want to make laws in a little dark room somewhere so that they can come in and rape our sacred Mother Earth. I traveled here a long ways. I passed a lot of water, beautiful sacred water. We have to work and fight and stand and work collectively to protect the sacred water. We cannot live without water. There's no substitute for water. We have been fighting this government for hundreds of years. They make decisions in closed rooms, and then they announce their decision and they run all over you. I stand here before you to make allies with you, to make a stand, and this is good. You're walking in the streets, you're writing letters, sending emails, you're organizing, you're getting training. That's what we have to do. That's what we have to do, because the fat taker, the 1%, they're greedy, they're vain, they're petty, they're selfish, and they will take what is not theirs if it's going to make their pockets richer and fatter. That's why we call them fat taker. We fight fat taker all over the big land, all over Mother Earth, all over Unchimaka. So it's good to come here and stand here with people who also believe the two-legged, the human race, has a place here too. We have a place here. We deserve to live in peace. We deserve to make collective actions that are good for our babies, our grandchildren, our old people, our young childbirth age, young ones out there shopping, being consumers. There's something wrong with the government that turns you into a consumer. No matter what it is you're consuming, as long as people are making money from it, then that's wrong. So I really applaud you for organizing this, giving up your days, your times, your hours, your week, your family relationships to come here in a good way and stand up. At home, that's what we're doing. We're traveling all over the Great Sioux Nation territory, and we're fighting uranium mining. We're fighting the Keystone XL pipeline that TransCanada wants to bring to us. For us, it's a fight about sacred water. Sacred water is a gift from grandfather. It's not our water, it's the water of our grandchildren. We believe that the day has come, and you are seeing it happen before you. Your rights will be trampled on. Your rights will be removed. Your rights will be legislated away. There will come a time when you can't gather in the streets without facing arrest. We did that. We faced arrest. Thousands of us have gone to jail to protect our sacred water from uranium mining corporations, from pipeline corporations, from the tar sands up in Canada. What we're doing is we're training people to take a stand, to do nonviolent direct action, to learn how to stand up to this government in a good way, out of your heart. We have a prophecy. It's called Crying Earth, Rise Up. Someday the earth will weep. She will cry with tears of blood. You make a decision. You stand with her or she will die. And when she dies, you too will die. Well, we have a destiny that we have a right to live, and we want to live that destiny. So we have to stand up for Mother Earth. And we go around and we train people. And our training is called Moccasins on the Ground. We've been all over the Lakota territory. We're coming out into white man's land. If you want to work with us, if you want training, if you want to put your moccasins on the ground, then look me up on Facebook, Debra White Plume. I come here in a good way with a good heart, a strong heart. I come from the people of Red Cloud. I come from the people of Crazy Horse. I come from the people of Black Elk. These are people who fought and died for the goodness of Mother Earth, for the love of their people, for their love of the land. So I want you all to say with me this little chant that means a lot, that will go out to the Star Nation, and it will circle Shamako, our loving, beautiful, giving Mother Earth. We have to fight for her. We have to stand for her. And we have to stop these backroom agreements that are being made, like that little mouse who scurries around behind the stove, leaving its evidence, but we just can't catch it. We're tired of that evidence, and we got to catch that mouse. So I applaud your bravery. I applaud your courage. I thank you for doing this. I thank you for standing. And I ask you to chant with me for our sacred Mother Earth. Crying earth, rise up. Crying earth, rise up. Crying earth, rise up. Crying earth, rise up. Time's up. Wise up. Rise up. With Unchimaka, our sacred Mother Earth. Thank you to all of you. Lila Wopila Echichapi. Be strong, stand strong, don't give up, don't back down.
My name is Cheri Honkala, and I'm from the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign, and I bring you greetings from poor and homeless people across the United States of America. And we stand with you today in opposing the TPP. You know, it was several years ago that I tried to participate in the demonstrations in Seattle when myself and Ward Morehouse went to give citizens arrest to the trade ministers. And we sat out the whole demonstration because we went to jail. But you know, I have a new partner that's willing to go to jail with me, Jill Stein. She's around here someplace. And I can guarantee you that we will do all that we can to stop the TPP. They will not cut off our voice. We will grow several voices. They will not destroy our land. They will not destroy our water. And they will not destroy our people. They will not take away our jobs and our schools. We are rising from the ground. We are educating ourselves and our neighbors in cities and in rural communities, and we are going to take our country back. No more backroom secret deals that will destroy our lives. We will ensure that things will come to the sunrise. Another government is possible. And it's possible when we take the money out of politics. And when we elect and continue to elect a government that actually represents the people, the planet, then we won't have to worry about these things. Another government is not only possible, but another country and another world, and they can't stop us because we have something that they don't have, and that's a love for the people and the planet, and there's no stopping us. Stop the TPP now.
Thank you, Cheri. Our last speaker is Richard Monhay. Richard?
I'm glad to be here, and thanks for the opportunity to address this demonstration. As you know, I'm International Vice President of Workers United and also Assistant Manager of the Chicago Midwest Regional Joint Board that covers this area as well. We have several thousand members here. We have several thousand members in Illinois. And in Illinois, we have a facility that is at the heart of the formation of our union back in 1910 by a strike led by women that worked at Hart Shafter Marks, a suit manufacturer in Chicago, Illinois. We have another facility in Cleveland where they make Hugo Boss suits. The only facilities in the country that still make suits. We have other facilities in Canada. Hickey Freeman, for example, is a label of suits that we make. They're the last vestiges we have of that kind of manufacturing that comes from the Clothing Workers Union as well as the Textile Workers Union. And we had to fight bankruptcy to keep those jobs open in Hart Shafter Marks. Hard-fought battle. Politicians helped us. Community groups helped us. But we managed to keep that open from going to bankruptcy not once, but twice. And Hugo Boss wanted to close the manufacturing facility in Cleveland and move it to Turkey in a facility of something like 5,000 workers that they have working in Turkey where they said they can get the job done with less cost. Not that they were losing money, they just wanted to save money. We, in Ohio, in the Cleveland community, with the assistance of Sherrod Brown and a number of other people, and again, the community groups and other unions, we saved that from closing. In order to do so, the workers had to accept some concessions. We didn't like that, but they wanted their jobs. So in fact, potentially we can lose thousands of members in the United States as a result of this. Not only that, but when these plants close, it doesn't just impact the amount of workers in that facility, but all of the support structure around it, including restaurants, communities, gas stations. The impact of losing jobs is absolutely incredible. Now, after these hard-fought battles to keep these jobs open, keep our members working, keep their families stable economically, then they want to negotiate away the jobs. Because the actual consequence of TPP and Fast Track is those facilities will close. So the plans around TPP will directly affect not some void group of people that we can't see, actual people, working people and families. 3 years of trade deals that we're not included in, that the future of our country is not taken into account, the unemployment in the inner cities, the loss of jobs for other reasons. How can we give away jobs? On the other hand, we're also internationalists. We care about the people in other countries. But I'm telling you, this is not going to benefit working people in other countries. It's possible to do that. It's possible to have trade and assist other countries in their economic and technological development, and it's something we should do. It could come from, a military budget. It could come from a whole bunch of sources, but the problem is not a question of money. The question is not whether or not you sell a suit at a price and worker can get paid a decent wage. The problem is profits and corporate control of this country in all its manifestations. And there's no doubt there's no doubt that we have to stop this. Thousands of jobs, tens of thousands of jobs will literally be affected. Directly workers, their families, and their communities. At some point, we have to stop it. I say that there must be a moratorium on any more free trade discussions until there's an election of people who will negotiate on behalf of the American people. And if necessary, we need to take the politicians out of office that will not support this effort of having fair trade and having job development in this country. Thank you very much, and no to TPP.
Solidarity.
All right, so we're going to stop this. Go to flushthetpp.org. You'll find all the tools you need to stop the TPP. Everybody here is a leader in the movement to stop the TPP. So what do we want? Fair trade. When do we want it? Now. Okay, you know your chance. You got your tools. Go out there and do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Thanks to all our speakers. Thanks to you for coming. Spread the word. Organize. Solidarity.